Well. I guess we're back to this game again, aren't we? I guess we're 5 minutes earlier than I had planned. I thought I had a 15-minute intro. I guess I only had 10. Oh well. So I need to pop on. You're gonna have to bear with me. I'm a little rusty at this. Imagine that. Yeah, if you guys want to like chat in so I can see who's here. I see I got 4 people, so let's see how things are going. So hopefully everybody has been having a good time since we last chatted, spoke, whatever we want to call it. So don't mind the messy desk behind me. I decided today to spend some money, and then which included me having to rearrange my office. So yes, so it's one of those things. So hopefully, like I said, everyone has been having a good time since our little, what I want to call it, little break. So, oh, hey, Chris, there we are. Didn't know if what was happening. We'll give it a few more minutes because we're early. So, but what has everybody been doing photographically? I have been doing nothing, unfortunately. So, which will put me in a bind next year, but I guess I'll get through it. So, I did force myself to go out. Oh, when was that? Last week. So, I'll have a few, I think, what is it? I got 1, 2, 3 new photos at least to post for next week. So we'll see how it goes. I don't have anybody. I know I have more people on here than just Chris. Oh, come on. I don't think Jan will probably be on here. She's in Alaska. I don't know. Hopefully everybody didn't forget about it. So, which is my fault because I haven't been doing anything for a while. So, but has anybody picked up their camera at all? I'm finally kind of getting around to it. Hey, Diane, how are you? Oh, still trying to get in a routine of things. So it seems weird. Like by the time I get up, by the time I wake up at 8 or 8:30 every morning, since I work late now, I'm never like, what do I say? I can't get out and like actually go take pictures a decent amount of ways or ways away. So I have to do it on my weekdays off, on my Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but that doesn't seem to be working. Hey Pamela, great to hear from you. So yeah, so we got 6 people on here now. So we'll give it a few more minutes and see if we can get some more. Oh, Diane says I took my camera out last week, but there isn't a lot in the flower genre right now. I haven't found a lot in general but I did notice today, headed out towards the airport, the corn is turning a crunchy. So that means fall colors are coming, hopefully. I'm not going to get too excited about fall colors this year because unfortunately with no rain, I don't think they're going to turn, we'll get sporadic little shoots of color. So, but it's been that way. Was it the last 3 years, I feel like? But according to KCRG this week, I guess we've been in a drought for 3 years, so that would explain a lot. So, but no, so I got some, I should check my phone to see if I have an exciting announcement to announce later or whatever I feel like it. Oh, Pamela, I've taken my camera out, but no time to edit. I have had no rain, no color. So I think that's the world we'll live in for a while. No, I've been finding myself that I don't want to take the camera out, but I want to edit. So I've been like going back through a lot of old stuff and editing. So all the black and whites that I did this last week posting was all from like the last year and a quarter or so. But now I got this like black and white brain thing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit too. Not in depth, but in the future, hint, hint, wink, wink. We'll talk about that more in depth with a special guest. So let me check that real quick and see if the man of the hour had texted me back. Yes, no one let me forget at the end. I will announce that at the end when we go through a few things. So, you know what? It's almost 8 o'clock. We've got 6 people. Let's get this puppy rolling here real quick. So, well, I am glad to be back. I don't want to say I was dreading tonight for a while, but I just haven't been in a mood to be very much of anything other than projects. Like I like doing things, but if you just hopped on, like I said, my messy desk back here, and I got crap all over the floor. I've been digging. Hey, Connie, how are you? I have so much photo gear, like little piddly pieces of crap like cords and chargers and cables, and it's scattered amongst boxes and everything throughout my office and house. So I thought a long time ago when we built our new garage, I was going to build a studio upstairs, which obviously didn't happen, but that's the bank's problem, not mine. And I had this thing where I always wanted this station where I had like all my stuff kind of in like print stuff. And that was going to be like in the middle of my studio so I could print and have storage and kind of like this island thing. But my office now is not big enough for that. So I went and bought a 46-inch or 36-inch Husky toolbox today. It weighs like 300 freaking pounds, which wasn't fun to get in and out of the truck myself and down this flight of stairs, but I'm still alive. But it's perfect. It's got like this giant drawer across. It got both printers on top. I might post a photo this week for giggles. But each drawer, like I've got it like all organized now. So like all my chargers are in the top and like my cleaning stuff's in one drawer. My like projection for the projector and like teaching stuff is all in a drawer. So it's super nice. So I wish I would have done it sooner, but it's hard to find one in stock around here that isn't in oddball colors. But less on that. So we'll get started here. So I was trying to think of things to like talk about, and I've got some ideas, and I thought, you know what? Ethics in photography would be good because I'll pop this up here. Because I think what got me thinking was one day I was watching, going through TikTok, and I got this Adobe ad that popped up talking about the whole new AI generation thing in Photoshop beta. And then I saw a lady on TikTok who is an Adobe ambassador showing like, oh, she circled this area and then was like, add a mud puddle, and it did it. And then she does these, what I want to say, like fantasy portraits like of her kids. So she dresses them up and then she Photoshops the crap out of them. And it's kind of cool. And she does it more Photoshop, and there's a lady I follow who does it more realistic, like with the fog and everything, and she doesn't add anything other than like maybe the background and the coloring and all that stuff. So her stuff was pretty cool. So I thought, you know what? It's kind of been a topic because I know at Coffee and Clicks the last 2 or 3 times it always comes up as AI, you know, artificial intelligence and Chat GTP with, you know, literally you can type in what you want, and the more descriptive you are, guess what? The better it generates script and text. And I listened to a podcast a couple of weeks ago about why do that work when you can have Chat GTP write your scripting for your social media posts or your copy on your website, right? So why not, right? I know I hate doing that kind of stuff, so it's easier, right? So that got me thinking, let us know when Coffee and Clicks is this month. So it's going to be, oh, sweet baby Jesus. It's on the website. I updated those dates. It's the third Saturday, because I had it the second Saturday and we had to move it to the third Saturday so we could use the room over at the Scooters on the southwest side of Cedar Rapids on Edgewood. So I don't think, let me pull up my calendar real quick. So the 3rd of September. Oh, we didn't do it for September. Sorry. So I'm going to do it in October. So we'll do it in October. So the 3rd. Wait. No, sorry, I lied. I'm way off. Sorry. So the 16th. Sorry, the 16th is what I have for Coffee and Click. Sorry, I was thinking we had already come past it, but that was August. I have no concept of time with my new schedule and work. I just get off when it's dark and I go in when it's bright, and I know what to do, and I come home and I go to bed and I get up, and then I have 2 days off during the week. So I have no concept of time nor space at this point, which is fine with me. So I don't have preconceived notions about life. So, but kind of back to real quick about the whole AI thing, is it got me thinking, there's all this stuff going on. So is it ethical to use this whole artificial intelligence things within our photography? And where is it popping up at, and all that stuff. I even had a training for virtual training online for work, talking about kind of like AI and how it can be used in bad ways, you know, security purposes, right? And I never thought of that. So then it got me thinking into this more about photography and where does it roll. So I've kind of like this is not going to be all about AI, but this is kind of a good lead into the whole ethics thing. But I'm not terrified that AI will get rid of a photographer. It'll get rid of the cheap photographer, because there'll always be people in this world that want high quality work, and they will always pay for high quality work. Then there's always the cheap ass people. They don't want to pay for good quality work for their website. Those are going to be the people that are going to go off and use AI to generate a picture, say agricultural website, farmer in the field, right? It could probably do that. They'll do that, right? That's just those people. So I'm thinking that AI and this whole artificial intelligence thing is going to be, it's going to be kind of like digital in a sense. It's not going anywhere, right? People say it's going to, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It'll be here to stay. But how does it work into workflows and what we do and what we don't? And, we'll get into some other things here about photo manipulation in a minute. But so all this leads to ethics, right? I don't think we think about ethics in photography a lot. And the other thing is I don't have oodles of slides tonight, so hopefully I won't go through this too quick. But there's always been some type of manipulation of something, so on and so forth. So, ethics and how does it play into photography and what do you do with it and what do you not? I think it's fairly simple. It's kind of like life, right? It's how ethical you are. But let's get going here. Oh. Come on. So I kind of like this quote here. It says, every time we raise the camera to our eyes, we become morally responsible to the photographed as well as the viewers. Photography cannot be just a privilege. It's a responsibility that should not be, oh God, I forgot this word. I think it's abdicated, or yes, we'll call it that, right? So this got me thinking, right? I started out in the world of journalism, photojournalism, right? That's a whole different world than landscape, a whole different world than portraits and fashion, and a whole different world than travel photography. So I almost said my secret project out loud. I don't know when I'm going to announce that quite yet, but maybe once I hear back. We're super, super close. But it got me thinking, is I was doing some stuff for that, and I had to come up with some thoughts. And it's crazy how I don't think people realize the power we hold in this black box with the black tube on the end. You're capturing moments, but it's more than that. Like when I'm talking about teaching with Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy, we talk about landscape photography and things we can do to portray an image, whether it's realistically or abstractly or creatively, right? So we, as photographers, can manipulate things in plenty of ways, right? With the camera, with editing, with AI now. So we can manipulate it. So I can make you believe what I want you to believe, right? Or not make you believe what you don't want to believe, because I have this power, But in the world of photojournalism, when I got started, if I'm doing work for a publication for a story, right, that needs to be represented in the way as it's been seen, actually being seen, right? So it's realistically being displayed to a viewer. But that got me thinking. It's like, well, you got to be ethical in that side. That was a no-brainer, right? Photojournalism, that's how that works, or should work. It doesn't always work that way. We've heard of war photographers. I remember there's a guy, I think, during I shouldn't say during, I think it's still going on, but the Syrian conflict, the what do I call it? The civil war in Syria. It was a cool image, but ended up that he staged it. There was no gunfire in the street, and it was all staged, right? So to the viewer not knowing that, it looked like the real deal. Now, come to find out later, somebody's like, dude, I was there, that, or whatever. They found out that this is not true. So that does a lot of things to you then, which we'll get in here into a moment. But it just got me thinking. I thought this one did it, this quote did it really well, because you do have a sense of responsibility to those being photographed and to the viewer, right? So let's jump into the next slide here. So what are photography ethics? Well, photography ethics are the principles that guide how we take and share photographs, right? It's subjective. It's fluid, it's your ethics, really. I mean, there's no set of rules. Well, like when I was doing the journalism thing, I was a part of the NPPA, National Press Photographers Association. Yes, NPPA. And they have a code of conduct that you should follow this as a member, as a journalist, and that kind of stuff, right? And you should follow that anyway. But a lot of that, I think, when you hear about ethics, it's like, I think, why do we have to teach us? Why do we have to tell people to be ethical? Isn't it just easy to do the right thing? To most people it is, but there are people in this world that are not ethical. They will stretch an inch into a mile if it benefits them, right? And photographers can be the same way. We'll talk about a few other things here, but really your photography ethics is all going to be different. I mean, there's 7 of us here. We can all have, in theory, different ethics of photography, right? And I'll go through some of this in a minute. But because really, if you think about it, I think as a photographer, what you like to photograph, how you photograph, I always say it's based on your life experiences, how you grew up, where you grew up. Maybe, I photographed the Midwest a lot, right? Because the only subjects I had growing up was the Midwest, and it was rural imagery. That's what I photographed, right? So if I grew up in the city, would my stuff more be like street photography, things like that, and not the rural landscape, because I wasn't around that kind of thing, right? Or you get people who always are photographing mountains and that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? That's all they have in their backyard to photograph. So again, how we photograph, what we like to photograph is based off life experiences, how we grew up, even everyday experiences, right? Things we experience, let's say I start looking at more black and white photography. Maybe I want to start doing more black and white things like that, right? So your photography ethics are based off of that too. I mean, let's use an example of, I don't know, somebody who, how do I want to put that? Let's say somebody's not ethical, so let's give a totally weird off one. Like, let's say you grew up in a family where it was okay to twist the truth to gain more money, right? Well, that's your life experience. That's normal. That's normal to you, right? So when somebody says that's not right, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, it is, because your life experience, that's what it's always been, right? Or you hang out with a group of people, of friends that do bad things or good things per se. You hang out with friends that are always volunteering and doing really good things and out in the community, right? Then you start doing that because it's the crowd you hang with. So, or Ben says, or we go and find mountains. Well, that's the truth too. I don't go looking for mountains. I don't love mountains, but I mean, right? That's how it works. Like if you hang out, it's kind of like at work when I don't want to say counseling, but I'm talking to clients and helping them through life and struggles and all that good stuff, and helping them level through programs and so on and so forth. I bring up questions, and come to find out that what somebody might find normal to them is not normal to me, but it's very normal to them because that's how something they grew up, or per se, like I said, the group of friends you hang out with. It's all kind of stuff like that. So all that's obviously, your ethics are going to be based off life experiences. Long way around the circle there, but oh well. So how do these ethics affect us as photographers? So if we take pictures that harm our subjects, no one's going to want to be photographed, right? If you have a bad rap that Sally Sue, the photographer, purposely makes you look like crap because that's her style and that's what she wants to do, then no one's going to call her, right? Who wants to look like crap? It kind of reminds me, what this reminds me of is there's a story, and I can't think of the family's name. It's very interesting. They're from like West Virginia. I believe it's like a interesting like incest family. They're way off in the mountains kind of things that people think happens all around there that doesn't, but it's the truth. That's the family, and some of the kids are like nonverbal or whatever, but I know it's kind of a weird one, but it's a good way to put for this story, because people are saying you are exploiting this people and their life and their experiences to get not fame, but, you know, attention to yourself as a video, you know, like a movie maker, whatever the hell, cinematographer, right? Or whatever he was doing. And actually he was just telling their story, which then I think ended up now people like donate money. So it's also how you're perceived by people. We all know how that works. What you see and what actually, you know, truly happened could be completely different. I see it every day. What you think just occurred is not what occurred, and you have to go back and investigate and look at things, and then guess what? You find out either you're right or wrong. So maybe he started out that way, right? Who knows that he was just trying to do it for that? I don't think so. But he was just telling a story, right, from a journalistic aspect, but people took it wrong. But, you know, you're not here to harm your subjects or make people look in a bad light, because that's going to reflect back on you as a photographer, and then no one's going to ever want to come back to you. Or if I'm a war correspondent and all my photos, I'll show you something here in a minute, where are fake, say, no one's going to call me and say, hey, there's a conflict in XYZ country, we need you to cover this, because they know you're going to fake it or could fake it. And there's always that possibility. And not to get political, but everybody in the fake news stuff these days and this and that, right? What do you believe? What do you don't believe? Who knows, right? That's what you want to believe, but it is. I can take video. Video is a perfect example. I can take a paragraph of somebody talking, and there could be 2 sentences in there that sound very bad, and I can omit everything but the 2 bad sentences, and it sounds bad, right? So again, it's like having these ethical things. The other thing is, if we manipulate our images and deceive our audience, right, no one's going to trust us, right? We fake those war images instead of getting the real deal. No one's going to trust us to give us the work or the jobs. You know, the word manipulate is, we'll talk about here in a minute too, but there's all manipulation on different levels. But, you know, and then if we're not ethical in how we use our photography, we risk jeopardizing the integrity of the industry as a whole. I see this all the time with pricing. Everybody wants to be against each other and be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, but guess what? That doesn't help anybody. It makes everybody's prices lower. Everybody tries to compete. Overall, I don't care what industry you work in, anytime you have bad ethics, it jeopardizes the industry. So let me go back experiences of working at PhotoPro. When you would buy a camera, you go and look at a Nikon, like say Z30 that I'm staring at right now. Let's say it's $799.99. And people come and say, Justin, I found it for $699.99. And it's not on rebate, but every person who sells the camera who is a legitimate Nikon dealer is at $799. And then Abe's of Maine is $699. They are notorious in the industry for being cheaper than everybody else because it's gray market. It's not US warranted. But they don't tell you that. That's unethical, because that means you buy that Nikon Z30 and it's just got a bad circuit board. You think it's got a warranty, send in a Nikon. Nikon says, sorry, gray markets from overseas, not imported to the US properly. Guess what? We don't fix it. Now you've got a $699 brick, right? Happened all the time. I even knew a camera store that was a smaller one who would do videos and accidentally show lower than MAP. That was what we called MAP pricing, minimum advertised pricing. Accidentally do it. I damn well know that was done on purpose, right? Because you couldn't advertise lower. You could be like, call store for details or something, right? That hurts the entire industry. So it's one of those things, is you'll start to like degrade everything as a whole. Come on. There we are. So there's different types of, let me go back here real quick. Okay, yep. So there's different types of like ethical ways, right? We can look at things. There's photo plagiarism, there's photo manipulation, documentary news and reportage, and then like landscape and travel. And I'll talk about all these. There's a million different things that could be unethical, ethical, and photography, but right. So let's jump back and, let's do that in photo manipulation. So let's talk about photo plagiarism. this is one that as I was doing a little research too and curiosity to see what other people said on the subject. And photo plagiarism I never thought of, but it's totally legit. So you may not know the name Tyler Shields, but I pulled this off Wikipedia. He was born in like 1982. He's an American photographer, screenwriter, director, former professional inline skater, right? Man of many hats. But he's known for his provocative photography involving violence or danger. I still had no clue who he was until I read that Shields gained additional notoriety in June of 2017 for a photo of comedian, and the name's blanked out there, and I can't remember it. But she was holding the prop head that looked like Donald Trump that was severed, and everybody got mad at it, and she started losing gigs, right? Then I knew who he was. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So now I'm reading in, and I didn't realize some people call what he does as photo plagiarism. So, and I forgot to put in the captions in here, but I think the photos on the right of these are ones that another photographer did, and then the ones on the left are the ones that he did. So how do we look at this? So we know plagiarism is like word for word, right? We hear plagiarism when writing, like people word for word something, and it's not their own intellectual property. But this one I was like, ooh, I don't know if I have an opinion on this one. I do, but it's hard because is it plagiarism in the sense that he did take somebody's idea, but he did his own thing? Is that plagiarism? I mean, it's an idea, right? I mean, it's not now you could get into a million different things. Like looking at the picture of the lips. That's close, but it's not the same. It's blown out. It's colorful on the left. The right is very minute colors kind of thing, right? We all hear that everything's been done a million times, right? So are we all plagiarism in photography, right? Or let's say we all go and photograph the same picture that Ansel Adams did of Snake River and Tetons. Is that plagiarism? I guess in this sense of what they call photo plagiarism, then yes, then we're all guilty of it probably at some point in our career or we've done it, right? Is it wrong? I don't know. That's a hard one to say. To some people, yes. To some people, no, right? Again, it's all how we believe. The pictures on the right of the ballerina. They're very similar, but it's not. To me, photo plagiarism would be literally this guy yanks the photos on the right and calls them his, right? Now, can he take the idea and spin it? I think he needs to spin it to a point where it's more his than not, right? Or if you want to do it. I mean, I don't, right? I say, what do they say? The best form of flattery is when somebody copies you or something, right? I don't know. This one's hard because I mean, in theory, it could be wrong. It couldn't be wrong. It's all going to come down to you as a person. Come on. Photo manipulation. Now, here's one. So the bottom photo is the guy's carrying the kid. It's a war zone. You've got the British soldier on the left kind of giving a command of something. If that photo was taken as is, straight out of the camera, right? Pulitzer Prize winner, maybe? I don't know. But that's at the war zone, right? But guess what? This photographer took, what's his name? Brian Walsky. He took the top two and made a composite. In photojournalism, I will tell you right there, that's wrong. That's not what he saw. That's wrong. Now, if you go from that genre of photography, that to me is 100%. I'm not even going to have the slightest inkling in my brain that would be okay to do. It's not. It's journalism. It needs to be as is, as seen, presented in the realistic way. Now, could that have happened prior, later? Yes, maybe, but that was not the action he caught at that very split second. So to me, that's wrong. You don't send that in to a publisher or send it to the webs for people to use. Now, if it was more on the line of a photo competition and there was a section in there where photo manipulation, where you're making composites, that would be fine, right? I know when you do PPA or PPI, Professional Photographers Bio America, whatever, when you do the photo manipulation part, like the composite categories, you have to send in, I believe, all the images you use to make the photo. It's kind of cool. Then you get to see everything what people create, right? That's fine if that's how it was presented in a contest. But journalism, that's to me pretty black and white. Photo plagiarism, that's a lot of gray area, like a whole lot of gray area to me. But photo manipulation in the sense of journalism, there is no black, it's black or white. It's right or it's wrong. But if we get into photo manipulation in the sense of landscape photography, which I'll talk about in a little bit, then that might be different as well. So I'm kind of like scooting ahead here. So let's talk about landscape photography and travel, right? So I'm going to start out with this story of, I'm going to say last year, but it's not, year before, June, Glacier National Park. I was out at, the Lake McDonald one morning, and I'm out taking photos. The sun's kind of coming up. And this lady comes over, and she's kind of like, you hear, and she sees me with all my gear, and she's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure. And she's like, why do my photos, why? She goes, yours probably look like these. And I'm like, what photos? The ones I saw online. She literally flew from Germany looking at photos online and thought it was the most beautiful place in the world she should go. That's true. It is a very beautiful place. But we all know in the travel and landscape world that photos are manipulated, right? She's like, I can't see through the water. Do I need to come back at a different time of day? I said, no. I said, to be honest, photographers are liars, right? We manipulate photos. She goes, but the rocks aren't the colors I saw in the photos. No, I said, because they add saturation and they add vibrance and they make the rocks more colorful than maybe they actually are. Then she's like, oh, and she's like, but how do you see through the water, right? Well, we use polarizers, right? So if you're talking to the point of photo manipulation, you'll have the camp of people who say, usually film shooters, I'm not to poo-poo on them, but usually film shooters, will say, oh, it has to come out of camera as is. It's the way it was seen. It's realistic. Okay, that's one way you can do it. Or you can accentuate colors, that kind of stuff. Is that wrong? Yes and no. If I'm trying, we all know in travel and landscape stuff, like how many times, like, it's like Instagram world, and then there's reality. You see these reels and TikToks about people at Bryce Canyon with no people around. Well, that's a crock of shit because they got real lucky, or it was about 30 seconds of a video where they recorded nobody there. There's a million people there, right? We know that. It happens. So it's, again, they're not showing you the whole 8,000 people behind them. They somehow got to the front of the line. That's why there's nobody in front of them, right? So in a sense, that's manipulating, right? You've manipulated something into making people believe that Bryce Canyon has no people, or Zion has no people, right? Which is a lie too, because there's a million people there. So you have to look at that and say, okay, am I seeing, is it right? Is it, or not right or wrong, but am I seeing it is that truthful being projected? Yeah, maybe in Zion's dead as a doornail in the winter because it's cold and it's snowy there, right? No one wants to go there at that point. Off season, right? The photos I have of White Sands, there's not a lot of people in them, if any. That's how it was, because there was nobody there. It was February. No one travels in February to a park, right? It's the off season. So it's stuff like that you go through and see. But anytime, like, what do we call photo manipulation, right? If I take a photo, the sky's blown out, all that stuff, to the camera, I have to manipulate it to bring my sky back and bring the colors, right? Our eyes are seeing it in that sense. So that's photo manipulation. Anytime we put it, in my opinion, into Lightroom, Photoshop, Color Effects Pro, Silver Effects Pro, whatever the hell it is, right? To edit, it's manipulation. And then people will go back and say, oh, fool, you know what? Ansel Adams never did it. Oh, bullshit. Google it. He did. Everybody, even from the dawn of photography, there is somebody who's manipulated a photo, making a fake photo. It's always happened. I think it's like Moon over New Mexico or whatever. If you see the negative of Ansel Adams, it's very flat. There's no contrast. It's very gray. He went into the darkroom and made it his own image. Is that right or wrong? No. He made it the image the way he envisioned it as an artist. I don't see it being wrong to a point, right? If you're open and honest about it. I mean, my photos, everybody else, people, we know we edit. You can tell when you see a photo that's not edited versus edited. Now, there are things like, to me, anytime we put a filter, a graduated neutral density in front of a lens, it's manipulation. They manipulated the image to the sky to be maybe darker than it actually was because we decided to use a 2-stop grad when the sky was only maybe 1-stop darker, right? It's photo manipulation. So in the world of photojournalism, any manipulation is not a good thing. In the world of landscape and travel photography, that's normal, right? What's another norm? Freaking fashion photography. We know looking at a movie star who's, or with a portrait done, right? A professional portrait, like a headshot. They don't look like that. The skin's been smoothed, blemish has been taken off, and stray hairs have been removed, right? That's photo manipulated. That's normal in that industry. Is that wrong for that industry? No. Is it wrong for photojournalism? Yes. Is it wrong for travel and landscape? Probably not. If I have a branch sticking out of the corner, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every photo I take, there's no branch coming out of the corner. Yeah, I remove it, right? But if somebody asks me, did you manipulate your photo? Yes. What'd you do? Well, I removed this little tiny branch out of the corner or this little stray grass that was coming out of the edge of the frame. What do I have to lie? But I think it comes down to just basic honesty of ethics of saying, yes, it is what it is. Now, do not enter that photo into a category somewhere where it's supposed to be a non-manipulated photo. Some contests have rules saying basic color correction, exposure correction. That's manipulation, but they don't count that as because you're just basic correcting for color and contrast that. But if you're adding a tree, so let's jump into this whole AI generated crap in Photoshop. So I was trying to think of a situation is it right? Is it wrong? So what I saw was I just recently did a photo, and I'll post it probably this week, where it's a picture of the Fairfield High School. And from the vantage point that I took and to crop out some stuff that I didn't want, the bottom of the wording on the sign was very close to the edge. I didn't like that. So I thought, well, hell, let's pull up Photoshop Beta and try this. So I extended my background down. I did what I needed to do. I said generate, and it added in information and gave me the space that I had to crop out. That's photo manipulation. Is it right or is it wrong? I don't see it as wrong, not because I did it, because the information that I added to it was already there. I just chose to leave it out. It was already there. Now, if I enter that into a contest, I'm to the point where that's photo manipulated to the point where it wasn't there. I probably shouldn't add it into a certain category. Wouldn't add it into any competition anyway. But that's one way there. Now, the other thing that I was trying and I played around with was the one I saw was like adding puddles. So I pulled up the picture that I did of the movie theater in Missouri Valley. I circled the whole front of the street with the lasso tool, and I said, insert a rain puddle, and it inserted a rain puddle. Did it look believable? About 95% believable that it looked real. So then I got curious and I circled a big spot on the curb, and I typed in, put a child eating popcorn on the curb. Boom, it did it. Was it believable? On a 4x6 on the screen, yes, it looked very believable. When I zoomed in, they looked like a Muppet. It was not believable at that point. Eventually, AI will get to the point where it will just be able to do that. Now it's even like AI in the sense of even TikTok. My God, I always get served this stupid account that it's like, he's like, I think it was like, who was it? Like Frank Sinatra singing some current song. Sounds just like him. AI did it. Scary. The things that you could come up with to do with that, right? But in the photography world sense, we've already seen it where people have entered 100% AI created photos into contests and they win the Grando prize. One person came back and said, we're not taking it because it was a fake. We wanted to see how far it would get. They were honest about it in the end. But we all know there's going to be people who are going to manipulate to a point, right? And it's going to come to the point that maybe, I know some contests require you to enter the original RAW file or the original file unedited. So then you know, right? So it's stuff like that. The world is always going to be manipulated to some point. Photo manipulation is always going to be here in some form, some factor. Now, on the AI of good, right? Like, it's okay to post. Like, if I posted that photo where I added the kid on the curb eating popcorn and the puddle, I'm going to post that, hey, I added this stuff in it. What do you think? It's kind of cool, right? Like, what do I gain from, like, lying about it? I don't. Some people could see me as not trustworthy, not good with information if I'm posting stuff like that. Like, let's even go back even to before AI. It's been around forever. Sky replacement. That's been a topic of discussion amongst landscape photographers forever with Photoshop. I literally tried it one night. I've never done it before. I had a bland sky, and I'm like, man, I wish I had a sky. I don't like this image because it doesn't have any clouds. I was like, oh, sky replacement. Never done it. Photoshop, sky replace, picked a sky, boom. Very believable. Looked awesome. But I can't get over myself to post the photo or even edit it any further because it's not true. To me, I didn't capture the photo I wanted, so I'm just going to call it a loss, scrap it, right? I'm okay with that. I don't know. So, I don't know. Everybody's been listening to me for like ages now. Does anybody have any opinions on anything? I know somebody's got an opinion. Everybody has an opinion about something. I'm just kind of curious to see what you guys think. Ooh, about spilt coffee. Should have learned my lesson when I fried the last laptop that way. There's always something, but I think let me ponder. I don't say ponder this. Let me ask this question. If you're going to use AI or some type of photo manipulation to the point that it was not in the original photo and you weren't enhancing anything, is it okay not to post something? Oh, so Ben says sky replacement with your own images is fun. Yes. I can't lie that I use it frequently for prints to sell, right? I mean, not a bad idea, right? I mean, you're saying, yeah, I'm not going to lie that I use it frequently for prints, right? I mean, I don't see a problem with that because how much of that crap you see at Target, it's on there. It's probably not always true either. So, right? I mean, again, and like Ben just said, I use it. So if somebody asks, did you add a sky? I'm pretty sure Ben's not going to say, no, I didn't, and hide it, right? So back to my question is, if you're posting that you use it in the image, is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious on, should you do it at all kind of thing, right? I mean, that's what I love about it. But again, one thing I don't like about with the purist world is, to me, photography is 1000%, it's a creative pursuit, right? I can choose to show it in a representational way, an abstract way, or whatever way, because I'm the artist, right? So I can do that. I think it would take out everything in photography if we were all only allowed to post photos we took straight out of camera. Pamela says, I feel you need to evaluate who the picture, Ben popped in there and then I stopped reading. Evaluate who the picture is for and if they are comfortable with how something is portrayed. Correct. I like that. So let's use the example, let's put it this way. How ethical is this? Several years ago, probably, I'm going to think like 5 or 7 years ago, guarantee it's a hell of a lot longer than that, there was the lady who was doing the photos where she'd give the kids candy or ice cream and then she'd take it away and they'd start screaming their heads off and crying and she took a picture. Is that right or is it wrong? It's interesting, right? But this is the way I look at it. If that was my child and I took her in knowing that was going to happen, you can't complain about it You took your own child there, knowing that they're going to be given something. The whole point of the photo shoot is to make them cry and scream and look like crap. There you go. I think answer served. It's probably fine. I mean, that's what you're doing. You know, you were honest as a photographer stating, I'm going to make your kids scream their head off and cry and be a brat. And I'm going to portray your child to the rest of the world that way. Now, if I go into that same photo shoot and I decide to leave the room for 30 seconds for some reason, and then it happens, and then you don't know, and they were lying and saying, no, we're not doing that, and then that photo gets posted, that's completely different. Ben says, you're either skilled or lucky, and luck doesn't pay the bills. Exactly. I don't say I'm using it unless asked. Yep, fine art versus pursuit is a tough one. True. That's a good point. Fine art, that's manipulated, right? I mean, the photo I recently posted of the clouds, that one giant like thunder cloud, if you want to call it a rain cloud, that was very black and white, and then you could see the very tiny farmstead under that. I used a radial filter to make the barns pop more, right? It's manipulated. That's a fine art image. I think you'll see a lot of fine art stuff. Fine art stuff, I think, is probably very heavily manipulated because sometimes they're almost too perfect to the point. Not saying that that can't be done in camera, but there's always something there. It's going to be, you know, you take out a little leaf here on a rock, right? It happens. But no, that's a very, yeah, it is a very pursuit versus fine art. I like the way you put that, Ben. It is a tough one. So Diane says, in music, we are talking about letting the final product be more human as opposed to what editing can do by leaving the little mistakes in. Exactly. How many times I've been to a concert, so you hear them on the radio. We all know it's edited, right? It's all popped to make things great. And it sounds awesome, and then you listen to it in your truck. It's got Bose radio or Bose speakers, which are meant to sound better, right? And then you go to the concert, and they sound like a squealy pig. They suck, right? It happens. Some people don't, you know. They sound just as good on stage as they do on the radio, but that happens, right? Again, it's like having the creative pursuit that you're good enough to do it to this point, but we're just going to make you even better, right? I mean, same with photography. That's a good one, Diane. I like that. Any other kind of ideas, comments, all that good stuff? I actually think it was a pretty good conversation for the most part. I just wanted to get people's brains kind of ticking to see where things go, and something to think about. I mean, we all manipulate to a point. Now Ben's got me really thinking of this pursuit versus fine art in my head. So now I'll have something to think about. I'm going to go scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss anything. And I like Pamela's too, where Pamela says, I feel you need to evaluate who the picture is for. True. Good example, my farmer portrait or my farmer project, if that I come to conclude that will never, unfortunately, get completed because I can't get any more people. It is what it is, I guess. But maybe someday. There's always hope, right? People ask me, how do you get through your job knowing and doing what you do? I said two things, hope and caffeine. And that's what I run off on life. I always try to say that, oh, the best thing's going to happen. But it doesn't always. But who knows? But that one was one where people didn't trust me, right? They didn't know me. I'm a guy with this camera, and I want to come photograph like a farm family, like, and you don't want me to dress up. What's the catch here? They thought I was PETA. Totally okay with that. I had to sell myself to a few families and that's totally okay. Because guess what? Talking about integrity, not to get political, but I don't believe, obviously, that PETA is probably very ethical in some ways. Any group can be that way. I don't care what side of the fence you sit on. But guess what? They've given a bad rap to other people, right? I mean, I'm seeing more webinars for farmers on farm security and things like that, right? I mean, it's the world we live in, right? But no, I think people brought up some good stuff. But I had to sell myself with some of those families, and I was okay with that. And there's a few I couldn't get because they didn't fully believe, and that's okay. So perfect. Well, we're going to end this. I don't think I got any more slides on ethical, but it's just some food for thought, something to think about and kind of stuff. So let's stay tuned here because I got some stuff coming up. So next week, I thought I photograph the Iowa State Fair every year. So why not share some of my images, why I do it, why I look forward to it. It kind of stinks because it's a project I can work on for 12 hours or less, 1 day a year. And I'll probably talk about challenges and fun and all that good stuff. So, but that one will be fun. That will be next Tuesday. I think getting back into this live thing may get my creativity back. I'm a little excited here. And then the following week, I'm going to do photographing without expectations. So what does that mean? Well, sometimes, can't wait because I didn't make it. I hate missing the fair. I've had to miss it 2 years since 2007. One because of COVID and one because my kid was born. So photographing without expectations. I'm going to kind of talk about kind of where I came from this spot, because there's the Instagram world and there's reality. And I find that I get the best photographs when I don't plan things and I don't have an expectation of what I'm looking for. So I'll go through that more. That one I'm pretty excited about. Come on. Then the following week, I'm a fond lover of camera bags. I work with Think Tank Camera, or Think Tank Photo, if you didn't know that. I have an affiliate link. I work with them. I've done some stuff with them. But if you saw my road trip back in May, I did the travel bags from them. And I love bags. My wife says I have way too many, which don't tell her. I do, but I'm not going to admit that to her. I love camera bags. So I have camera bags for a million different things. Like I take a different camera bag when I go traveling, flying, and hiking versus when I go to the state fair or I'm just in the truck working out of my vehicle, right? So I'm just going to kind of talk about certain different types of bags. It may not be the most riveting thing, but I think maybe get the gears rolling on other bags, because I don't believe there's a one bag fits all situation in the camera bags. This one I've had up for quite a while, noodling on, and I never did it. So the following one will be looking at a subject in a new light. That's one I was going to do back in June when I kind of got burned out and I was like, So I'm going to kind of talk about just going back to the same places all the time, the things you see all the time, and how do we look at them differently in a different light. No pun intended, maybe pun intended, who knows. About just how do we see something differently. Because I have gone and photographed the same barn a million times, and after about 5 years, I finally got a photo I liked and why I saw it in a different way. And sometimes it's 5 photos later you see it differently, and sometimes it's 5 years later. And so before I say thank you and wrap this up with a few other things, I did get confirmation a little bit ago, right before the show started, that I was going to bring on a guest. And when I was doing the podcast, I had a whole list of guests that I wanted to bring on. And if anybody knows Chuck Kimmerly, I think Kimmerly is his how you pronounce his last name. If you're ever in the photo club, I brought Chuck in when I was president for the big photo expo all day talk about black and white. So I love black and white. I'm just not good at it. I suck at it, to be honest. And all those photos I posted was a lot of frickin' work on trying to envision things and how I want them. Now, those are manipulated, right? I mean, that tree in Glacier is white and the background was very dark. God, I should have put those in tonight. Showed you the original to what I got. I get a lot of my black and white inspiration from Chuck. I love how Chuck uses contrast and highlighted areas to draw attention. And now that you think about it, maybe it's photo manipulation. I don't know. But I draw a lot of inspiration from him, and I've watched how he edited in that seminar. But I thought, why not bring Chuck onto the show for an hour, talk about what makes a good black and white, things you can do to be a better black and white photographer, maybe what's the good times of day. Like, I just get lucky with black and white. I do. I take a photo and it just works out. I wish I could go out and say, okay, here's the subject I have. I'm going to do this with it, and I know it's going to work. Because when I plan, again, talking about expectations, when I go in with an expectation on a photograph, especially black and white, it does not come out. For some freaking ungodly reason, it doesn't work for me. But all those black and whites that I posted recently over there, I had no expectations for any of those to be black and white. And guess what? I actually kind of like them. So it's things. So a couple things. I didn't mention at the beginning, but if you all been on here before, but it's been a while, up in the top somewhere, there's the little QR code. If you want to support the show financially in some ways, that would be awesome. That's all I'm going to say about that. Don't feel obligated. But thank you guys. If I don't know, I've been in a creative rut. I've been, I don't know, not very photographically driven feeling. This is maybe a good thing and a bad thing. It seems like the longer I have a dry spell, the next year or when I get back into the groove of things really heat up for me. So I'm going to go off my motto of hope and caffeine, and hopefully that works. But no, again, thank you guys. I mean, I was surprised. I didn't think I'd have anybody on because I figured everybody forgot about it. But again, we'll just keep kind of doing this. I know, Paul, I don't know if Paul's on here tonight, but Paul had an idea of going through a show that had talking about like hyperfocal distance, which I suck at, some other stuff. But if you have ideas, I'm kind of struggling for ideas to a point. I have another, Corey says I forgot. That's okay. You're okay to forget. Don't do it again though, Corey. But do what Connie does. Set a reminder on your Alexa device to say that Justin's live every Saturday night. But, thank you again. I always enjoy it. Hopefully this gets me back in the mood of doing things. But like I said, I've been photographically kind of bored, stuck in a rut. So when I get that way, I change things and spend money. I almost bought a new lens. So I figured a $500 toolbox for my office is cheaper than a $1,800 lens. So probably get more use out of the lens than the toolbox over here for storage, but hell, it is what it is. Something I've been wanting to do and organize things, so it is what it is. But no, thank you guys as always. I always enjoy having people on. It's like I have my regulars. So we'll see everybody hopefully at Coffee and Clicks on the 13th, I think, right? 16th, the 16th, over at Edgewood Scooters. There's a little room. We get about 4 or 5 turnout. We just find something to talk about. And who knows what it is. So you are welcome, Diane, and thank you, Corey, as always. So I will sign off because I have to prep a whole entire week's worth of meals this evening because I was too lazy to do it today because I was on a mission. So again, thank you guys so much. Hope to see you all next week and then at Coffee and Clicks. Adios.